I would say farsighted, meaning he had amazing foresight, pragmatic, and perceptive. He could evaluate a person and a situation with amazing clarity, depth, and precision.
So many amazing things to say about Abhijan, and I guess among the grandchildren, I spent the most time with him. But if I had to choose, I would choose that it was amazing how he would command the respect of a room just through his aura.
He was warm, generous, supportive, and he was an extremely strong person, very, very strong-willed.
What I heard about him, he was adventurous and bold, but I remember him as loving and caring.
I used to call my father Abhijan. He was one of the simplest men I've ever known in my life, a man of very few wants and needs. Throughout his life, he worked very hard to push his family forward in more progressive academic directions. Towards the last 4 years of his life, he got really sick. He lost his personality, his mind, which was really heartbreaking to see.
My grandfather moved in with us after he was diagnosed with dementia. None of my friends had grandparents living with them permanently, and I remember being asked if I got money and presents all year. Of course, the reality of living with a sick grandparent is mostly bedpans and loud TV. His gifts to me took longer to understand. It started with the food. Instead of pastas and simple Western meals, my grandfather preferred traditional curries. He would sigh and recall a favorite vegetable, my mother would smile, and we would be off on an epic journey into the depths of Dubai's Indian markets, looking for produce our local grocers had never even heard of. I began to enjoy exploring parts of the city where everyone spoke Urdu and treated me with familiarity. Claims of kinship and high-performance haggling created a sense of community. In this feigned intimacy, language was a binding force, and my Urdu improved as I found my confidence walking through the bazaars and souks. Abhijan and I also went for evening strolls in our neighborhood, and he told me stories of his youth. I was entranced by tales of sporting feats in foreign countries. I found a deeper connection with my Pakistani roots in the histories of my family. Listening to these stories, I looked for glimpses of myself in them. My mind was beginning to stick. Unfortunately, as I found my true north, his mind began to noticeably wander. Our evenings walks and stories became shorter. Our roles reversed when he could no longer walk. I became the storyteller, describing friends and lessons as I wheeled him down the same paths. He was usually lost in his thoughts, detached from the present, but occasionally there was a moment of clarity and he would respond with a comment or smile. Visiting relatives and nurses now called at all hours of the day and night. He sat huddled in a chair while the television blared Pakistani drama series, old Bollywood music, and religious sermons. Familiar noises in an unfamiliar country. It was a desperate attempt to pin down memories that were floating away from him. It was all too much for me to process. Sometimes it was hard to find space to think. Eventually he became bedridden. It was heartbreaking to see his shrunken frame lying in a medical cot, next to framed certificates of his wrestling and rowing awards. I wanted desperately to reach out through the haze and elicit a glimmer of recognition. And then, one quiet, listless afternoon, I found an old Urdu poem and played it for him. He seemed not to be listening, but then slowly lifted a finger and moved it in rhythm with the recording. I wanted to tell him I understood and that I was strong enough and his stories would live on in me.